Good morning, I am Kevin Price. Delighted to be with you. Going to spend some time talking to you about you and your business. And if you're in business, you got to be aware of the huge economic impact the great University of Houston has. I myself, although I never finished my graduate degree there, I did pursue graduate work there. I have 2 kids who graduated with their undergraduate degrees there. So I run, my blood runs red, which is good all the way around.
You're all right.
So, and delighted to have someone who clearly whose blood has run red is Bill Yeoman. Really the legend. He's a legendary coach, a great coach in the history of the University of Houston. He's also the winningest coach in the school's history, and delighted to have you on the program.
I'll tell you, if you last long enough, then you're going to have a chance to win more games.
Absolutely. Yeah, but your margin in terms of wins and losses is pretty impressive.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was more fun than you can say grace over with the kids we've had, because the state of Texas has more football players than Carter has little liver pills. And as a result of that, it was all you had to do is get out and find them. And our kids, our coaches were great, and guys like Billy Willingham and Elmer Red and Don Todd and et cetera, all of them did a great job in recruiting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't that complicated.
And you're also in the College Football Hall of Fame, which is awesome.
Well, they didn't have anybody else that year.
It was a slow year.
It was a slow year, so they said might as well put him in.
We'll just stick Yeoman in. There you go. Well, I'm impressed, and I noticed. I came from Michigan originally, although I was with the Blue. I was a big Blue fan, but I noticed you were there with Michigan State. You worked there for a while before you went to U of H.
I'll tell you what, it was a blessing in that I played at Army, and Colonel Blake was nice enough to call me back, and I was on the staff there a couple of years, and so I learned a ton of football from him, but also learned it was real nice if you had a bunch of players available to recruit from. Then I went overseas, and the first order I got when I got to Germany was to go to the Division Artillery headquarters and coach a football team. And so I did that, and as I was with the headquarters battery of the Division Artillery, and then it was obvious. I told my dad a long time ago, who was superintendent of the schools there in Glendale. He asked me one day what I wanted to be. I said, I'm going to be a football coach. He said, no, you're not. And I said, okay, because you didn't tell your dad anything but okay then. And I was so the first order I got when I went to Germany to coach a football team I enjoyed it. And I'll tell you, I learned a lot. And when I'd gotten there now, I'd had 1 year or 2 years of listening to Colonel Blake and Sid Gilman and people like that talk about football. And I was helping with the offensive line for a year. And then when I went overseas and had the whole team, I had a great time. I really did, and learned a whole bunch of stuff about people and trying to run things as opposed to football, because old man Blake made sure I knew enough about football.
Yeah. And also, I mean, you were really kind of right there in with some pretty major moments in history. You being the wow, it's incredible. Yeoman also played a prominent role in the racial integration of collegiate athletics in the South by becoming the first coach at a predominantly white school in the state of Texas to sign a black player. What's up with that? You wanted to win.
That's 100% correct. And the thing about it is I knew we had to have the right youngster and all that kind of stuff. So when McVay came along, Harry Falk was as nice a guy as ever. Drew Breath, who was the athletic director out there, and I can remember when I decided to recruit Warren. I opened the door to his office and I said, "Harry, I'm going to recruit Warren McVay," and shut it real quick before he had a time to say anything, and took off. But no, and Warren was a great one to start with, because he was staggering ability, and he knew how to get along, and it worked out extremely well.
Yeah.
And so and then it was obvious that there were a number of youngsters here, black youngsters, who could play football. And so when we ordered, I can remember we go over to play Georgia, and we were represented the first black players to get on their field. And I can't describe you. The place was stuffed, and they had a bridge that went across one end of the stadium that they sold tickets on for $4, people to stand up and watch the game that we played against Georgia. So our kids were in some interesting situations. They really were, as was this coaching staff. But it didn't make any difference. All I'm going to do is win football games.
Yeah. Yep, and that certainly worked, and I'm sure in retrospect that was probably part of the formula that led you to finishing 11 times in the AP and UPI top 20. You know, is that you were willing to recruit players that so many of your competitors weren't willing to compete.
Well, they got willing recruit after they got beat a couple of times. it was
like some humble pie.
It happened pretty readily, but my folks lived in Mississippi at the time when we were over there playing them, and my mother knew I was going to be shot. I mean, you know, there wasn't any doubt about it. She was, a complete nervous wreck. But if you don't pay any attention to that kind of stuff, then you get it happens. And you know, I didn't feel necessary to defend anything, and we went over to Ole Miss during this period, and when you went over to the Southeast Conference, they gave you 2 policemen to, you know, they're motorcycle cops, to take you to the practice and to dinner and whatever else it is you had to go. And we were out there, and we were integrating the stadium at Ole Miss, and we practiced Friday that night. As we were coming in, our 2 guardians were standing there, and one of them indicated, "Have you ever seen so many blah, 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 blah in your whole life?" To his friend, and I told the kids, keep walking, you know. But it was a kind of a thrill for them, for our kids. They really didn't understand just how serious it was, but there wasn't any question. Those kids made it much easier to break the color line in the Deep South than anything else. I know Dr. King was wonderful and you know, a great person and all, but I'll tell you, football was really serious to those people.
Yes, and absolutely, it still is.
Well, and when we went over and beat Georgia, and they had they went to the Sugar Bowl and they won the conference and all that kind of stuff. It was a different world then.
Mm-hmm.
So they started looking for someone to recruit.
Yeah, Bill Yeoman is our guest. What a great guest at that. We're going to continue our conversation with him after the break. Carl Glaw, my very good friend with the Glow CPA firm, helped arrange this. I do want to give them a mention, Glow, G-L-O, CPAs.com. Love what you guys do over there, Carl. We didn't give you a microphone because we knew you'd take all of the coach's time, but you're an awesome guy, good friend, and delighted that you brought the coach with us. And we're going to continue our conversation right here after the break. I am your host, Kevin Price. This is The Price of Business.